Hello, my name is Mike Kenny. I'm a doctoral of learning at Capella University. I'm in the Doctor of Education, Leadership and Management program. My career category is local, state, and national policy. I'm here because it's part of the requirement for segment 3 of my capstone course to give some type of audiovisual video presentation or PowerPoint, something to that effect, about my background. So I'll talk about my academic background first. I'm a product of a parochial school background back in the late 50s and early 60s, and 8 years of Catholic schooling. I was a Roman Catholic at the time. I asked my 86-year-old mother the other day how her and my father, who worked in mills, could afford to send 4 kids to a parochial school. She said it was easy, Mike. It was free back then. If you belonged to the church, you get a free education. My times have changed. After that, I went to a public high school. And first thing I found out, I was 2 years ahead of my peers that went to the public junior high school. You would consider that a blessing. In reality, it was a curse. I was bored to tears with high school. The material, the content was subpar in my opinion. I wanted to drop out. I wanted to go to a trade school in Fitchburg, Mass, and learn the electrician trade. If that had probably happened, I'd probably be a lot better, have a quality of life, be a little more richer than I am as a college professor. And yes, I am a college professor. I'll talk about that later. In 1968, I graduated high school. And because of my subpar performance, I was 352nd out of a class of 365. I don't even know how I graduated, to tell you the truth. I think the real reason was it was the 100th anniversary of Garden High School in Massachusetts, and the mayor would have been embarrassed if anybody would have failed. So everybody miraculously passed, including the bottom 1%. What's ironic was in 1968, when I graduated, the fall we had the first draft, and that was the height of the Vietnam War. When I got my draft number, it happened to be 352 also. So I guess that was the blessing, to be honest. I started an associate's degree at the community college because it was right across the parking lot from the high school. I could walk to school. But I continued my subpar performance, and it was just party time for a lot of reasons. Long story short, it took me 7 years to finish an associate's degree in general studies. By that time, I was in the Navy. I enlisted. I was a computer tech. I was stationed in California on board ship. It took me another 7 years beyond that to finish my bachelor's degree, which I did in the Navy. So 14 years for a 4-year degree. That might be a little slow. You might want to consider me a little slow learner, I think. 25 years later, I started my master's degree back in 2001. I enrolled at University of Phoenix, one of Capella's competition schools, and I received a master's degree in education with a concentration in adult education, distance learning. That's when I fell in love with online learning, primarily asynchronous. But I was soon to find out that master's degree did not find me any gainful employment. At that time, I'd been teaching information technology at a variety of colleges. I taught at Boston University for 5 years, full-time. Those were in the dot-com days when I made a lot of money, which I don't do now. But my graduate degree did not find me any gainful employment when I lost my job. So I went back to school, and I went to Capella, and I enrolled in the PhD program, Education, Instructional Design for Online Learning, the EIDL program. But I was halfway through before I sat for my doctoral comps. I became very concerned that there was no gainful employment for anybody with a doctorate degree in EIDL. So I did some quick research and confirmed that fact, unfortunately. So I downgraded and settled for another master's degree, MS in Education in EIDL. That did not get me a job. About a year and a half after that, I was pretty frustrated, and I said, what can I really do? What are my strong suits? And then I took a good look back, some heavy reflection, and my strong suit has always been writing. I'm a very creative individual. I can't stand the status quo. I believe in Collins' statement that good is the enemy of great. We have to be constantly transformational. So I took one last chance, and I enrolled at National University in a Master's of Fine Arts program in creative writing. Within a year and a half, I had my MFA, which was a terminal degree when my other masters were not. And all of a sudden now I could teach at the junior college level. I could teach English composition. If anyone's interested, my first 2 master's degrees I'm probably going to put on eBay and see if I can sell them. A nice walnut or cherry frames to anything. I can't give you a transcript, you're going to have to work that on yourself. But the MFA got me in a community college system. I now teach one of the 2 courses that puts fear and trepidation in the hearts of all incoming freshmen, and that's English composition. Unfortunately, I fail about 1/3 of my students, and basically because they're functional illiterates. A few years ago, I was teaching a remedial English class near Boston, and I failed half my class. And it really, really bothered me. In fact, I talked to the director of the school, and he said, Mike, don't worry about it, because he failed his class as well. I said, well, something's wrong here. Then I came across a survey of top 1,000 Fortune 1,000 CEO companies, and they did a survey, what's really required for Americans today for education. Now, 30, 40 years ago, when you asked some potential college student what was the skill set that employers were looking for, they would say team player, ability to work independently, and so forth. The top 3 things that all these CEOs were looking for was the ability to read, write, and speak standard American English. Because if you can't be proficient in English language, you're not going to make it in society, whether business or any type of vocation you want to get into. So that really became the theme for my doctorate dissertation, functional illiteracy. I have a burden for that. I have a relative that still can't read. He's in his 60s. I don't understand. I just don't understand. I'm very fortunate having that appropriate school education because I'm an excellent reader, excellent speller, and it gave me the solid foundation to work with students. But still, I fail 1/3 of my students. I have a summer class right now. I'm failing 1/3 of them. It's for the same reason. They just don't have the skill set to make it in college and as a freshman. So I really need to know why. I really do. Future goals after the doctorate? That really depends. I have a lot of things I like to get involved with. Politics, I'm very political. I ran for the New Hampshire State Senate last year. Came in 3rd place. I was in the running of 3. I learned a lot about politics, good, bad, and ugly. And I failed one of the classes at Capella because I was so involved with my campaign. I didn't have enough time to put the effort into that particular class. And of course I repeated and got an A. I did the same thing throughout high school. I was frustrating to all the teachers. I was the FA guy. I would fail a class, get an F, repeated an A. FA. They started calling me the ping pong boy. Every graduate degree I have, all 3 master's degrees, I have an F in each one. Maybe it keeps me humble. I don't know. But I do. I'll never get a 4.0. I'm not perfect. In fact, in my e-portfolio in the artifact, you can see the rationale about my failure for that particular class and repeating it. I ran for the school board earlier this year. I came in 2nd place. There was only 2 of us. And, but I did get 48% of the vote. I only lost by 211 votes, so that made me feel a lot better, considering my Senate run I was crushed. Where do I see myself a few years from now? Maybe in politics, diplomacy, international relations, involved with a church group of some sort. Right now I'm sitting in my church. It's the Cornerstone Baptist Church in Penodville. Pastor Prescott is sitting there. His son, Michael Prescott, is doing the taping here. Possibly education consultant. I would love to do online teaching for Capella. That is a shameless plug for work after I graduate Capella. Please don't send me to one of your competition schools like UOP or Walden. I would love to work for Capella University. I guess that's about all for now. I'm looking forward to the dissertation, finishing the capstone. Especially looking for the defense of the dissertation. I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your time and effort.